Welcome to the Evo India podcast and our second edition of Boss Talks. Now today in the studio we have with us Adil Jal Darukhanawala, editor-at-large at Evo, and our guest today is Rakesh Sharma, executive director at Bajaj Auto. Rakesh, thank you for being with us on this episode of Boss Talks. Let's start with what do you do in your daily day at Bajaj Auto?
Being a motorcyclist, what do you do?
Thank you very much, foremost, for having me here. It's a pleasure to be with you guys. Well, it's a very engaging and an unpredictable day, which is also in some ways quite exciting. See, Bajaj Auto is now a 45,000 crore company with presence in over 100 countries. And for that size, I think it is a little bit too centralized. So, a lot of action happens in the headquarters.
Just like the union government and federalism here.
Yeah, maybe. And maybe the time will come when we'll have to think about that. But so I can be, and the other thing is the culture of the company is such that we are pretty hands-on bunch of people. So obviously the top management has to engage with things like strategy, but also how was the dispatch yesterday kind of stuff. So let me see, the best way is, let me try and recall what happened yesterday. So I started the day with a really grueling call with a very big analyst firm who wanted to grill us on electric business because they're wanting to put a lot of money in Bajaj Auto. So that happened from 9:30 to 11 odd.
Straight away.
I think so. I think we can expect some investment from that side. They're pretty satisfied. We try to be as transparent as possible.
That's one of Bajaj Auto's intrinsic strengths, right through.
Yeah, I think so, because then you don't have to keep minding your back as to what you said when. So we say it as it is. Then I moved into we are having our Q2 planning. So I moved into a discussion with our electric vehicle business, Chetak, with the team over there. That went on till lunch. And from 1 to 2:30, we had some consultants.
Did you do lunch or no?
No, I did a working lunch because we had these consultants on AI. So how we could apply AI into various aspects. So that was a 1.5 hour thing. And being old world guy, it really stretched my faculties quite a bit. Finished that and moved straight into Triumph marketing plans, which went on till I think 5:36. And then, Niharika was waiting to brief me about this podcast today. And in the meantime, somewhere I slipped in an update on our Brazil plant. We are just commenced production in Brazil.
Wow.
So
where is it based?
In Manaus.
In Manaus.
In northwest of Brazil. And by the time I left office, it was 7 p.m. My yoga class had got missed. But, satisfying day.
So this is a day in the life of Rakesh Sharma.
Yeah. But it's, if you ask me, today would be very different. Monday would be very different, but yes.
I was just going to come to ask you, which day of the week and what time of the day does the boss call you and ask you what happened with that analyst thing?
Well, I will tell you, after working for so long, frankly speaking, a lot of our business gets accomplished on WhatsApp. I mean, I don't want to unnerve the people out there. They may be thinking that there are big short presentations and all. Of course, we have those regular meetings for product development, for business progression. But a lot of the work carries on through WhatsApp and a quick call here or there, and he's very accessible, and he sends a message now and then. And most of the work, actually, the workflow is on these informal platforms.
So Rakesh, you spoke about the electric business. We will touch upon that, but the main crux of this podcast is to talk about your upcoming groundbreaking motorcycle, something that hasn't been done before on this kind of scale. Your CNG motorcycle is going to be launched on the 17th of July. So that's weeks away from now. What can you tell us about it? Can you give us a name?
I can give you a code name.
Okay, let's
the
have the
project code name, which also is not known, was Bruzer.
Bruzer, okay.
But that is not the brand name.
But you know
which
what?
we go
Bruzer was a brand name which you had put on a bike concept bike at Auto Expo almost about a decade
Yes,
ago.
yes.
Right?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You got a fantastic memory, Adil. So yeah, so that is the project name. But we will. It's an evocative brand name which fits the proposition very well,
So just
and
to
we will
clarify-
unveil that in on 17th July.
So just to clarify, this is not a Discover CNG or a Pulsar CNG.
No. See, it couldn't be that because it is quite a disruptive move. And if you just pause and think about it, we had to design, and this is where the genius of innovation is. We had to design the bike ground up because it has got a biofuel capability. It has got both CNG and an auxiliary petrol tank. And CNG cylinders are heavy. And we don't have the luxury of a four-wheeler where you can accommodate the
Packaging
CNG.
is
We have to
key.
packaging is key. And it has to be done aesthetically. You can't slap on a
Of course.
cylinder. And it is, while the proposition
We
is
are
one
not
of 50,
Pakistan.
yeah, of 50% savings,
Yeah.
but we don't want it to be a dumb bike. We want pride of ownership to be there. So besides the functional issue of packaging a heavy cylinder, putting it in a trellis cage so that it is all the concerns about safety are allayed. We've had 3 times punishment given on it just to ensure that it is absolutely safe. The ergonomics have to not change because
They have to be
they have to
conventional.
be absolutely
Conventional.
conventional because we can't play around
Sure.
with that. With the heavy metal over there, NVH has to be particularly taken care of. And then of course, there is all the learning which we have got from decades of operation, whether it is to do with the shape and size of the seat or how can we make a ride, intercity ride, intertown ride more comfortable. All those thoughts have been brought to bear in the design and styling.
One key element which I would like to interject here and ask is, this is, how do you see it? Is it for the urban motorcyclist? Is it for the semi-urban or the rural? Where would it be targeted or positioned at? Forget targeting, where would it be positioned
Yeah,
at?
so as we have lived with the concept, Adil, for now, whatever, 2-3 years, I think it is targeted at those people who are economy conscious, but have, they seek pride of ownership. It is not just about some rented bike or something. Pride of ownership, but primarily people who are economy conscious. Now, these are people who reside in urban areas and rural areas. We sell expensive bikes now. We would be surprised, like the NS 200 sells quite well in rural areas, and CT 100 110X is selling in urban areas. So we are targeting the economy conscious buyer who runs across the country. 50% of our country today households have a annual income of 1,25,000 to about 5 lakhs. That is the level. 50% annual. And we know from our retail finance data that almost 70% of our customers in the entry level or up to the 125cc have a monthly income of 30,000 rupees, 35,000 rupees. Now, if you take that 35,000 rupees and break it down into the top 3-4 expenses which a person has, which is rental and food and education of children, transport or mobility is right up there. And therefore, slashing that bill by 50% is a strong proposition which is relevant everywhere. I'll tell you, while I was speaking, I just got a little reminded of this little encounter I had. I was traveling outside of Bhopal in a place called Sihor, and this is a few years back. And I was sitting at that is the time when the fuel prices had gone up. Suddenly we were seeing economy bikes suddenly perk up at the expense of scooters. And I think, how can people change form? So I'm sitting there and I was asking this question to the dealer. So I said, "Ye kaise ho raha hai?" So the guy said, "Sir, there is a guy who has just bought His previous two-wheeler was a scooter. I said, bring him, I want to talk to him. So he turned out to be a school teacher in his mid-30s or something, or late 30s. So I said, sir, we were talking in Hindi, but I said, sir, you have bought this bike. Now I know it is more fuel efficient, but you have sacrificed a farm. Your daughter, he had a daughter and a son. They could ride the scooter. Your wife could ride the scooter, and it is more convenient. But you, just for this, how much do you save? He said, sir, I do 40 kilometers per day, blah, 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 this, that. We calculated. It came to 1,500 rupees. So I said, for 1,500 rupees,
But for them,
you have changed the form. He said, sir, 1,500 rupees is 18,000 rupees per annum.
Yes.
And it is over 60,000 rupees in 3 years. That's a lot of money for us.
True.
You know, it was like a slap on my face. And I felt we have a intellectual understanding of money. But what it really means
On
for
the ground.
that person in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this bike is aimed at those people, you know. And I think it will make a significant
Rakesh,
difference to them.
This is one segment where Bajaj Auto tried for years and years and years. So I am reminded about the 4S, your first 4-stroke bike, and after that it was a great bike, but then they improved it to become the 4S champion. And I remember in those days you had that mileage runs, and the 4S champion used to deliver 150, 152 kilometers per liter. Of course, it was a what you call competitive element, so you rode like that. You can't ride like that every blinking hour of the day. But you did quite a lot. The fact of the matter is that you never got traction to match your rivals at that time. So it was good that you did the Pulsar, because then the rivals had to try to catch you there. And it's good for people like Shirish and me that we love the Pulsar and we love the sporty aspect. And you put literally a big bunch of Indians in that vein, and it's carried on. How significant will this 50% reduction come across in money lying in the wallet of the people who buy it? How do you see the opposition or your rivals reacting to this really groundbreaking move, if I may?
As I answer that question, your observation is absolutely right. You know, the sort of fundamental DNA of Bajaj is very performance oriented, do better buys, get better tech. It's a very tech and innovation driven company. We have got a fantastic
I think
R&D.
yours is the premier
Yeah.
tech and design oriented.
And design oriented. We've got two design centers outside India plugging into our Akudi R&D center. So that's our natural tendency. And even today, you know, the Platina is the most fuel efficient bike. But it is only slightly better than the leader, who enjoys, you know, the first mover advantage.
Absolutely.
And your observation is very right. We have thrashed around quite a bit. Champion was a few decades back, but even of late, last 5 years, if you see, that we have tried, you know, to give the fifth gear to make ride easy, and nice little innovations. We brought in tubeless tires, we brought in digital consoles, we brought in ABS. We made little spurts of performance, but we never managed
That
to
whole
dent
package,
the thing. Because
Did you run out of the glamour quotient to make them sexier to that segment of buyer? Because that is what, when you see glamour, splendor,
Yeah.
Hero has played with a lot of lipstick jobs on all their motorcycles.
Yeah, but you know, the main advantage which they possess is a first mover advantage. Now you can't be just a incrementally better proposition. You have to be disruptive. And there was an epiphanic moment, I would say, 3 or 4 years back, saying that, gosh, and you know how this came about was, you see, because of this government initiative, which is a fantastic initiative of the government to install CNG network, you know, and there are almost 6,000 pumps right across India. 60% of the 770 districts are now covered by CNG. This has had
Are they enough?
no, they're not. But the government has said that they will get to about 13,000 in a couple of years.
That's a big thing.
It's a great thing. See, because what it does is, 60% of our CNG is domestically sourced, or I think 40%. But 80% of our petrol is imported, crude oil is imported. So it's a very big forex implication, and that's why the government does it, besides it being a cleaner fuel. What happened when this CNG network started to come in? That we were almost, we were playing really distant second fiddle in our diesel three-wheeler segment. You won't believe it, Adil, a company like Bajaj Auto was not getting dealerships in Bihar, Jharkhand, where diesel was prominent. But as this thing arrived and we launched our three-wheeler CNG-based three-wheeler in 2001, 23 years back. And suddenly everything started to change. The whole market has changed. 80%, almost 65% of it is now CNG. And in that, we have an overwhelming 86% market share. So this was dramatic. And we said, oh my God, right in our backyard, we have this phenomena where we tried so many things, we could not get the market share in diesel. CNG is disruptive. And that epiphanic moment was, can this be done in a two-wheeler? And first we toyed with scooters, but the large mass of the market. We said, oh, this is the thing, this is the disruption in the bottom 50%.
There is a different application per se for CNG in three-wheelers, which is last mile delivery, people carrier, and there's a very different application on a two-wheeler.
Yes.
How did you, manage to take the best features of CNG from a three-wheeler and try to make it, two-wheelers are definitely more exciting in any which way.
Yes.
So how did you make that transition happen?
Yeah.
So and it has to happen because that's
yes, of course. So we discussed briefly on the vehicle side where we said we needed to have a standout styling which people would be proud to own. We had to package the CNG safely and aesthetically. We had to make sure the NVH was, so the vehicle side was of course very ground up, and I can tell you both our design centers outside India have worked on this, and bringing to bear some of their observations. They came and the stylists and the designers came and moved around in the countryside and said what's happening, how are people using it, and brought to bear all that. From our experience was, the CNG. Now you're talking about an engine which has to have biofuel capability, and these two, the calorific values and all the energy values of both the fuels are very different.
True.
And we want to give a experience to a customer that when the mode switches from CNG to petrol or petrol to CNG,
there's no lag or
there is no lag, and
exactly.
So we did some tests, obviously, with the customers, and so we didn't tell them this was a CNG bike. So we just drive this bike, and they came back, and then we unveiled, and we said that this is a CNG bike. They couldn't believe it, and they said from this kilometer to this kilometer, you were riding on the petrol mode, and then you were riding on the CNG mode. It is a seamless. So a lot of the innovation is also on the engine side. The map strategies, the fuel injection strategies for CNG and for petrol have to be absolutely different. The whole structure of the engine.
I asked Joseph Abraham the same question because calorific energy density of both the fuels is very different. But he says, Adil, we have licked that.
Yes.
And I have no
that was the genius.
And I don't ever disbelieve Joseph since I know him now for the last 35 years.
Yes. Absolutely. That is the...
Obviously, we have to talk about how long it took you to develop this motorcycle, and also why did you take it so long? Because you had your first CNG rickshaw 23 years ago, like you said. But before that, you talked about the running cost. Is that also the reason why you didn't look at a scooter for CNG? Because obviously a scooter gives you the inherent benefits of you have the space for a bigger tank. So why not a scooter instead of a motorcycle?
I had one more question to this. Question is, at that point of time, this 25 years which you have done with the Pulsar, you consolidated the company massively. And now you're sitting pretty there. Is that one of the reasons now we say, let's go and fight the big brother across over there?
The best decisions are the ones which arise naturally. You just come into a position and you come to a decision which has already been made. It was so natural. The whole experience with the CNG. And see,
it's
the
organic.
Other thing is, it's an organic thing. It is as if you've been waiting your entire life to reach that decision point. The other thing is that you see the CNG network also. We could not have imagined this 3 or 4 years ago. It's a fantastic confluence of things because now we are sure that 55, 60, 65, 70%. The government is saying 70, 80% of this country will be covered by CNG network. The density of the CNG stations, because the person should not have to travel too far.
But I still see lines and lines of cabbies and whatnot.
Yes, I have been meeting some of the CNG distribution companies, their MDs, and they're delighted with this move because they want customers.
True.
See, there are 40, 50 companies who've got the license to distribute CNG in different territorial areas, and they want more and more segments coming in, and they're delighted that we are attacking a very, very mass segment, and that encourages them to put in, because for them it's capex, and for it encourages them to put in.
So basically, you were waiting for the infrastructure to get to where it is.
Yes, so
before
it
bringing
is,
the bike?
part of it is that, part of it is the learnings or the failures which we had from trying to attack the bottom 50% with, you know, tech innovation which was very performance oriented, and we tried 2-3 things, and even in the recent past not getting much joy over there. And Bajaj Auto is a 75-year-old company but very ambitious and youthful, and the whole thing is to keep trying. And so there was an element of that. And on the scooters, to come back to the point which you asked, on the scooters we had got the electric play already commenced. So we knew that this is opening up an absolutely new segment for us in India and overseas. So we got the thing with the electric attacking the scooter segment. So this was a sort of a white space. We have some products over there, but this was a sort of a white space which we thought we could attack. So we came to the decision naturally. It was lying there waiting for us, I feel.
And how long did it take you to develop the motorcycle?
I don't have the precise date, but about 3 years. It's been in the wings for about 3 years from the pure idea to now it's all ready, and it's been a journey of about 3 years.
One thing which I've seen across a lot of this thing, when you speak about, and you are tech driven in so many ways, and I saw, and Joseph Abraham is now moved to Chetak. I think this is the last big project with the motorcycle, so to speak. How will this carry forward on the motorcycle side, the performance side? And I'm sure there'll be groundbreaking Chetaks coming across, knowing that Joseph is there.
Yeah. So let me just explain the thing, because we have really not talked about it as to why we have done this. So Chetak Technology Limited was first set up to deal with the business of electric scooters, right from production to sales, marketing and everything. But as in the last couple of years, what we have realized is that there are many functions which are like marketing, sales, manufacturing, procurement even. They are very analogous to what we are already doing in Bajaj Auto. So what's the point of taking, losing the synergy effect and putting them out in a company? So we said that Chetak Technology Limited, we need not have an independent business unit. Now see, we are not floating a company to get an IPO or get all that. If that is required at some point of time, we'll do it. But this is not the time. We are quite well resourced. So we said we don't need to carve out a company for this. At the same time, it is quite apparent that there is, in the world today, there is a huge technological developments taking place, you know, across a wide area. There is a churn, which is great opportunities. So we have an eye on the future. So Chetak Technology Limited and Joseph, as the managing director of Chetak Technology Limited, is interested with the challenge of being on top of these emergent new technologies, you know, whether it is sodium ion development or hydrogen at some point of view. There are new capabilities. One is which is like software. More and more, you know, the software is getting integrated into apps, into the bike, the interface between bike, environment, company and the user. So we need, you know, of course we will work with an ecosystem of partners, but to work effectively you need to also have adequate depth of understanding. So developing new capabilities. So I would say that the name is a bit of a misnomer because we already had that company.
Right.
But this company is about, conquering the new technologies, conquering the new capabilities, and actually being the engine of creation. Whereas Bajaj Auto and the new CTO is a gentleman called Ram Tilak, who has been with us for decades,
Yes.
very, very competent person. That is the one which will execute. So, creation will be part of Chetak Technologies for Bajaj Auto as well as for Chetak. Now, Chetak is just a brand name within the Bajaj Auto
So, to
portfolio.
clarify, Chetak is the umbrella including ICE.
Absolutely, on the ensuring that the new technology, the things which we know and which are already in practice that are with Bajaj Auto. But we felt that a person like Joe, who has led this for 30 years odd and knows Bajaj Auto and knows the customer and all that, and is also has got a great interface with. It's very difficult for the person to do this thing, to think, run with the hares and hunt with the hounds. It becomes difficult in today's complex environment. So we said, let's take our best guy and put him in charge of this, which will, ensure that we will protect our future. In fact, it has to be seen as a commitment of Bajaj Auto to being very, very future focused
not just a
at
fad.
a global level. It's
not a fad.
It is at a global level. It is not just India, because we are dealing with competition from China, Japan, and emergent competition from startups all across the world. And the great thing is, there is opportunity also all across the world. So it's not just about
you start from ground zero, actually speaking, for every.
Yeah.
Let me ask you one more thing, addressing another elephant in the room. You got electric mobility going. When do we see an electric motorcycle? Because that could be has to be in the realm of reality very soon rather than later.
Yes, we are dancing around the edges of that, and there again, you see where it is most obvious. The application of electric, most obvious on the motorcycle front, is on the leisure and the sports side, where we are tic-tacking with KTM, as you know, and I was telling you that I have an afternoon meeting with Joe and Kiska.
When are you getting the MV Agusta and gas?
Now, that is also in the workshop, and we have to leave something for the next podcast.
Okay.
But on the commuter side, which is the 125cc, it's a little bit more challenging to optimize electric performance, the design, as well as the cost to optimize that. So there is still more. But for us, there are no holy cows. I mean, we've not got any guardrail here that we will do electric only and this thing.
Sure.
And particularly with this whole CNG thing, we are saying, why not this, why not that
exactly,
kind of a thing. And that's exactly the kind of thing which Chetak Technology is going to spearhead.
CNG Pulsar?
Well, only thing I would say,
maybe that's too far-fetched right now.
It's too far-fetched because again of the, the type of fuel there is and what the customer seeks from a Pulsar, which is thrill and which is, wide open throttle and those kind of things. So,
so you said that the CNG is obviously focused at economy. Is it at the expense of performance? What kind of performance yardstick are you looking at? Of 100cc, 110, 125, 150?
Well, we are looking at 100 to 150cc performance.
That's where the sweet spot
lies. That is where it is. And let me say this to you, what we will unveil on 17th is just the first draw. So it is not going to be a singular product.
So it's a family.
It will be over a period of time a family, and we will address this 100 to 100. We believe that even people from the scooter side will come to it once they see that this kind of a thing. In the real world, these lines are blurred. We sit in conference room and draw these boxes, and we become a prisoner of these boxes.
I tell you, the PPT generation is not for me.
Absolutely. In the real world, I mean, so many people now try speed 400. I'm trying. What was your previous bike? Use the Activa or Splendor. Oops, straight. So I'm not saying that everyone is like that. So so we are definitely looking at that segment, but largely, we are, if you cut the market 125cc and above, we are dancing at the edges of being a leader. We are just a couple of percentage points behind the market leader. We are about 31% or so. And we got those plans are, as you know, with Pulsar and Dominars, they're well into play. In the 100 to 124 cc segment, our market share is very, very low. And so that is the big opportunity for us. But that you can't get because the people enjoy first mover advantage. Now you can't increase market share without being disruptive.
But you could
so
also
that is
have
where we
had
are aiming it.
You could also have had a brand and a product fatigue from the first mover guys as well.
I hope so.
No, important thing across over there is you will have also with your rivals, there will be product and brand fatigue also. 40 years of doing the same, shut it, fill it, forget it and whatnot. Also that paradigm has changed massively. Over 80 kilometers to the leader, then it became up to and then became just close to 80. That was a big clincher in the mind. How much of a role will you, what you call, accord this product to get the messaging through to the people at that strata of society?
Yeah.
It is critical.
It is everything hinges around that. Though, like I said, we are made sure that we get a product which people are proud to own from a styling point of view. Performance has been looked after. There have been some innovations which we will talk about on 17th, which will address comfort and all the riding habits and etc. But the central piece is this economy thing, and we hope to convey. And I think this conversation is also conveying that today is the world, it's the world of technology. You have to use tech and innovation to solve problems. And there is a problem which the customer is facing, which is that there is a big fuel budget. Ever since the petrol price crossed 100, the customer is angry about being prisoner of that budget. It's solving that problem by using a cleaner fuel. It is addressing to some extent the environmental issue, which is a societal issue, and by aligning with the government initiative of reducing the foreign exchange burden and going with the CNG network, you can see there are 3 dimensions which this central innovation piece is addressing. And the ordinary customer, the farmer today, is sitting in his home and operating drip irrigation with his handphone.
Yes.
So he's getting touched by innovative tech, and they're very astute. They will reward that, but they expect. And somewhere I feel, given all these experiences which a common person is having, they're watching Netflix while in the field.
You are tackling Bharat and not India with this bike.
Exactly,
Right.
and through innovation. And I think people are wanting tech, they want innovation, and when they see a meaningful outcome, which I hope this reduction in fuel bill, etc., will provide, I think we will be ready to
What
reward
kind
us.
of reduction are you targeting?
We are thinking, based on the usage, it's about 50% reduction in that.
So halving the running costs.
We said it should not be 10%, it should not be 20%. Then,
It's too meager.
Too meager.
Too meager
Correct,
that way
correct,
to really
absolutely.
make a dent in the mind.
You have to make people sit up.
Yeah.
And buying cost?
Buying cost, we will,
A ballpark? Yeah.
I will tell you,
There will
even
be
last
some
night
more.
there was a debate on this, what we should do it. So I actually, and I know, knowing Bajaj Auto, that we will continue to debate this and take feedback and sense till
The time of
0900 17 July.
Was the debate on WhatsApp?
True.
Sorry?
Was the debate on WhatsApp?
You're absolutely right.
You came into Bajaj Auto to head the international operations. With the CNG bike, are you looking at export markets also? Is there potential?
There is potential, but you don't have many countries. See, we are exporting the CNG three-wheeler, so we know. But there are not many countries which have got a retail level CNG network.
Right.
But there are countries like Bangladesh. By the way, this is again something which is probably not so well known. You know that in Egypt, we used to sell 6,000 three-wheelers a month, and that got banned because they felt, for various reasons, the government took a stand that got, so sales went down to 0. After about a year and a half of engagement with the government through our partners over there and sometimes directly with us also, we have now got approval from the government to ship Qt. So Egypt now wants to replace three-wheelers,
with the Qt.
also those running on the roads, and there are lakhs of them on the roads, with Qt. Qt, which is CNG powered. So there is our partners are setting up a unit which will retrofit the Qt with CNG. At some point of time, we will also, just to get that localization going. So you have countries like Egypt, you have countries like even Argentina. It's got a very good, Bangladesh, Nigeria. So there are about, I would say, Peru, I would say about a half a dozen countries which could become candidates for a CNG powered two-wheeler.
And obviously, exports are a huge part of what Bajaj Auto does.
Of
You
course.
are the largest exporter from here. So that's a critical element in everything that you plan.
Oh, absolutely. Now, when we plan a product, it's at a global level,
Yeah, it has
so
to be.
So
Yeah.
our discussions,
Correct.
in our discussions, there are people from all the business units, which is the domestic business units and the international business units sitting over there. We have now R&D teams, etc., who are visiting international markets along with our service teams to capture, some of the learnings directly to enroll them into it. And that is the only way it will work,
True.
And you can't design. And my learning after so many years is that the fundamentals are universal. The packaging and the CNG and this color and that color may be very customized to the thing. But fundamentally, there is an enormous universality of needs and
Actually,
wants in motorcycles.
Actually,
at least.
Bajaj Auto has played this card tremendously. If you care to really look at it from an engineer's point of view, I see a common thread: Pulsar, KTM, Triumph.
Yeah.
I see a common.
Yeah.
Not many people see that.
But
Correct. It is there in that.
And I'm glad that not many people see that, because the
I know
idea is
that
to
also.
present
I know that
the
as
front
well.
as a very
Yes,
different
true.
and harmonize the back end.
Going back to what you were saying about Chetak Technologies, that will work with your partners also on Triumphs
absolutely.
and KTMs?
And one of the things which Joe will be over a period of time doing also, not just with our partners like KTM and Triumph,
Who also
but
have-
building also an ecosystem of other alliances
Yes.
on the tech front, because
True.
we have to recognize in today's complex VUCA world, you can't do everything by yourselves. You need these
partnerships.
strategic
Yeah, you
alliances.
need these
and that is very much part of the scope.
KTM already has a small range of electric motorcycles.
Yes, of course.
Doing very well.
Very well.
Very well.
The young people really
Yeah.
love it for what they can accomplish.
True.
With legislation going where it is, how long do you see before combustion engines are legislated completely out of the
25
system?
years more.
I feel that, already there are countries in Europe who were, who jumped the gun and did things.
Exactly.
And now
And they have to backtrack.
Germany has a little
They-
bit of
they
a backtrack.
backtrack.
I think given our kind of way of working in India, I feel that we will trundle along. I was telling the dealers the other day that, listen, look at the way the business is changing. Now you can very well imagine that you will have to deal with so many fuel types: LPG, CNG, electric, petrol, diesel, ethanol.
Ethanol, yes.
6 fuel systems, service, workshop, all that, the whole cut. So I think these will coexist, and on their own, I think the best thing is that on their own they will.
Yeah.
If policy starts to distort
Yeah.
by this subsidy, that
no,
subsidy,
but policy cannot be agnostic in.
Yeah,
You must have that thing
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
open.
Yeah, you can do it for a little while,
True.
like this. But on an everlasting basis, to have these outside interventions, which are, I must say, because there's people sitting North Block, South Block, they're not so connected to the goings on.
Yeah.
So there is a danger of distorting the basic equations, and when that is corrected, there is a jolt in the system. So I don't think on an everlasting basis, at least on the consumer side, you can play around with this. So I feel that these fuel systems will continue and on their own morph or follow.
Very important thing which you mentioned about the dealer has to look at the service setup, but also the front end setup. If someone comes in
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the same guy cannot be emoting perfectly for the CNG bike as you would do for a Pulsar.
Absolutely.
So how will you do that social engineering part there?
See, so you've touched upon a very, very important point, Adil, because you see, today, with all the e-commerce and everything, when automobile purchase happens, there is
personal.
a large element
Yeah.
of touch and feel.
Absolutely.
I want to sit on it and ask my wife how I'm looking. We are finding more and more women participation
Yes.
in saying that, this is not looking good on you and all that, or this, that. So there's a lot of participation.
Tuck in your tummy before you get on.
So, and she will sit on it, and which is fantastic. And which means that the whole showroom experience has to continuously be lifted up. But at the same time, it is also becoming complex. You got the NS 400 and you got the CT 125. The salesperson should be able to explain. But the great thing is that you've got a lot of stuff, like I was talking to you about AI and about digitization, which on the palm of a salesperson you can train. But there is no escaping the fact that on the front end you have to train,
Correct.
and you have to address cultural issues. You have to train and make the culture one of loving the customer. Kind of a thing. You
Difficult.
have to.
Very difficult.
Yeah, it's difficult, but it has to be done. It is.
But dealer principals have to buy
Have
into
to buy,
that,
yeah.
That is key. That is
absolutely.
It has to come from top down,
Top
not
down.
bottom up.
Yeah, and they have to be authentic about it.
Yes.
You can't do lip service on all this. And you have to put your money. You have to pay good money to the salespeople, prevent the attrition. and
Yeah,
all
exactly.
That.
Attrition rate is massive.
Yeah,
they change over for 500 rupees.
Hamara to because of two-wheelers, they want to go to work for Mercedes and they want to go for, all those things that also happen. But that's the nature of.
Will you have like a separate shop for CNG?
So we are obviously going to give it a pride of position, and there is a very lovely thing which we are, the team is, R&D team is trying to do, is to build this bike in a transparent, some of the showpiece bike.
Like the Volkswagen.
Yeah. So that the customer can see how the cylinder is placed, where the fuel tank comes in, and total transparency and all that.
Okay.
And we would want to make that. I think that it in itself will also be very attractive.
It's a massive thing. They did that at a top end product.
Can you imagine?
Whereas you are doing it at absolutely grounded level.
Yes.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is also to take in from where Adil is coming from, is that this is not a motorcycle targeted at motorcycle enthusiasts in the city. This is targeted at a person who wants to save those $100, $500 every month.
A commuter with utility put in.
But proud to own a good bike.
With pride of ownership.
Yeah, with pride of.
Will you have like big CNG stickers on the bike to advertise the fact, or will you tone that down? What is does a person feel like, okay, they've bought a CNG motorcycle?
Well, we don't have anything. We feel that it is better to avoid this in your face.
Correct.
Kind of.
Leave it to the Pulsars.
Leave it to the. So people will know what it is. There will be a little descriptor which says that, of course, it is CNG based kind of a thing, but not something which is in your face. The proposition is not it's CNG. The proposition is it saves you money, and you will be very happy to own it, and you will be very happy to ride it because it's got great performance, comfort, styling is great. So you will be very happy to own it, and of course there is an economic justification.
Rakesh, taking a cue from how the Pulsar line evolved right from 2003 onwards, and when Joe had this telling statement to me about 5 years after that you saw 150, 180, you went to 220, you went to 3 valves per cylinder, you went to so many different, there's so many aggregates which were patented, which were Bajaj Auto things.
Yes.
I'm sure that you would also not make this CNG thing a static target. It's always will be a moving target.
Absolutely.
You'll have to do that.
Absolutely.
So a lot of patents would have been what you call put through for this.
Absolutely. People are working on, because it is really new horizons which we are going for, and that is generating new learning and opportunities for patenting things.
Yeah, so we spoke about CNG. We got to wrap up the podcast. But before that, we have to talk about KTM and Triumph. Two quick questions. Where is the Triumph project going? Are you happy with the success of it internationally as well as in India?
So we're quite happy. We have now reached a level, very steady level of about 2,000 Triumphs, which is about 50-50 between the Scrambler and the Speed 400.
That's okay.
We, given the initial euphoria which was there around it, we had thought that it could have been slightly better. So I would say that yes, we are satisfied, but we are not happy about it, where we have reached. But it has given us a lot of cues on what we should be doing. In fact, if you see what we are doing with the Triumph, and there was also a realization that the as you advance into the interior market, the brand of Triumph is not, people may be aware, but that it's not well understood.
Correct.
So there is a brand task also which is over there, and therefore, and also this is about education also of the customer, that this is a modern classic. You like classics, but they don't have performance.
What are you
this
doing?
This is a modern classic.
What are you doing
And
to create that awareness?
Exactly. So
key
this
thing
is
is
where
that.
we have to work with influencers. This is where our marketing folks
No
are
one
coming
gave
out
us a
with
call.
the communication.
No one gives a call.
It is, you probably when you're driving back you might get a call. It is hot news. So you will see on that, on our, I'm forgetting that place, I just saw that hoarding of ours. Now this is a modern classic. So we are seeing the early, putting out, and we've checked how the customer is responding to the communication. Because, this is not a frontal attack on the classics.
No, it cannot be.
It is something where we have to create a category. We have to create that white space and be the number one.
It's an acquired
Yeah,
taste. You got
yeah,
to.
yeah.
But the more important thing is, KTM, I know you just crack the throttle open. That is the thing. Triumph is understated, elegant.
Yeah.
Brings you closer to. You get to see more of the countryside when you ride, and you
Yeah.
want to ride that way.
Exactly. So there is a longer runway for clients. So from that point of the milestones which we have passed on this longer runway, we are pretty happy about it. We've got, almost 130 first class stores. If you see, we have not taken a shortcut. We could have put these two bikes in a Bajaj showroom, or we could have taken much smaller showroom. They are first class stores, which the Triumph people from UK have come and they've said, wow, the service centers are absolutely top class. The customer experience scores which we are getting are absolutely wonderful. The ride experiences, the Triumph bike nights which we are, fantastic. On the export side, if you see, again, great reception. It is now in 57 countries,
Wow.
out of which 50 countries have started retailing. In UK, and I was there in Brazil just a few days back, in Brazil, and even in the US, and it is getting a very good reception. And as there is a growing realization that, and the Triumph folks overseas, the sales teams, who are very,
Yeah.
Because look at some sales team sitting in the US or in Brazil saying, now this is being manufactured in India and what will happen and all that. They have got a growing confidence. So a lot of great progress in the overseas markets. Solid
Actually-
development work in the domestic market. And Adil, this is not you launch a product and then you get, we are, there is a longer runway. We are building a business over there.
You're also
we will
learning.
expand the portfolio.
Yes.
So it's a long.
Actually
game.
you're speaking about people being apprehensive about a Triumph made in India.
Yeah.
But it should not matter.
Yeah, it is done.
It should not matter at all.
Yeah, we are past that stage.
Yeah, we are past that stage.
Frankly
That's
speaking,
correct,
Indian
correct.
engineering.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the early days of international business, I used to tell the troops that, listen, this is a war between Indian engineers and Chinese engineers, and we got to avenge the 1960s. Some theatrics, I used to say that. But I think Indian engineering is well recognized.
One key question across over there, and I've seen this, the cost of developing an equivalent capacity motorcycle in Japan is intrinsically way higher than what you can do here in India. And I think that is one of your strengths now.
Oh, absolutely. You see, what's happening, Adil, is besides that point, you see the developmental burden which is there on a unit in a developed market. You got ever increasing regulatory compliances, which means there is a big component of your R&D resource you have to put into that regulatory compliance. Secondly, the axis of consumption is shifting out from just the see, Europe is the home of motorcycling, but now with the rise of emerging markets, rise of Brazils, the Indonesias and all that,
older demographics over there.
and those type
Yeah,
of products
correct.
are different. Leg lengths are different.
True.
The body types are different. What they want is different. The environment in which they ride out is different. So it means you have to imagine the product portfolio. So you have to commit R&D resource to regulation, regulatory compliance. You have to commit R&D resource to ground up new product development, and then the point which you mentioned. So when you put all of it together, it is a big challenge which some of these storied manufacturers are facing today.
How much of an effort which you have done in designing, engineering the product has, because you can't do everything yourself, so your vendor partners, how much have you done for them to match up to what you require?
The vendors you mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh
vendor.
yes.
Yeah.
So there
It's
is
a
a
critical
whole
aspect.
absolutely. And again, this is where, you know, being in the game for so many decades, our vendors have also been with us for that. There is a seamless relationship with so many key vendors and all that, and a lot of work goes on. For example, this entire TPM work, and you know that we recently got the highest award, first Indian company to be awarded like that by the Japan councils. Not only do we practice TPM, but our teams are working like the vendor employees and working with them in and implementing things like TPM and all that. So it is truly part of our own ecosystem. It may be a different organization, the vendors, the key vendors I'm saying, but it is almost like there's just a little bamboo curtain, otherwise it is the same organization.
You're giving all these motorcycle drunkards a new taste of brew. You have
Yeah,
If you put it that way, Adil.
fine Goan whiskey, challenging the single malts.
And final topic, Rakesh, KTM.
Yes,
How is
yes.
that going?
KTM is doing
Has
well.
Triumph impacted KTM?
No, not at all, because the customer set is completely different. We've had our best ever year in KTM in India.
Okay.
And I'm commenting on India. The next horizon really, where I think we could have done this a few years ago, was to see our product portfolio does not really reflect the DNA of KTM. You know, whether it is the adventure or the enduro or the motocross.
But you
and
made
all
a
that.
good beginning.
We have
You
made a
with
good
great
beginning, which is, who knew KTM?
Correct.
What is KTM? Nobody knew. But today in a Cuttack, in a Dharamshala, people know what a KTM is. We've got a network. Our vendors and our manufacturing knows how to do. The next thing which we are working on is to really bring in the bigger bikes of KTM. That is on the anvil. And with that, we want to develop the brand on the lines of its true DNA, which is Dakar and which is motocross
that's
and
music to
all
my ears.
that stuff. We are now
Don't take all
working,
too much time, huh?
no. We've got a very senior person from KTM
Okay.
with an office in
Pune.
in our
your
building just on the floor below me. And so we are working. We have commenced that work where we, the MotoGP.
Yes.
So we have realized that for us to really, it's not about selling some bikes. We have to truly shape the development of that category over there, and for that we have to get the youngsters, we have to get some role models. Arey, wo race jeet gaya. And then a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old says, I
KTM
want
plays
to
this
become.
game very well.
Very well.
So they have got KTM on the MotoGP circuit in the Moto3. They have got Husqvarna. They have got Gas.
Yeah, exactly, covering all the spectrum. So that's
all their brands, same bike, just branding different.
Yeah. So it ain't
Let's see a Bajaj Pulsar also there on that racetrack.
No, but we've got KTM. Why should we duplicate? So it's not going to be happening overnight.
Yes.
But this decision has been taken that let's invest on the fundamentals and try to build,
That's a
grow this
that was
category.
a logical step to go forward.
Yeah,
So next
yeah.
we're
I said maybe 2-3 years earlier, but all this COVID and all happened.
So we're going to see a lot more in terms of motorsport with KTM in India.
Absolutely, absolutely. You
That's
can count
awesome.
on that.
We started
You
with
can count.
CNG and we are ending on, I think, the best note, Adil.
Actually speaking, the most what we call progress anywhere which we have seen in the automotive world right since the birth of the internal combustion engine, the most advances have come through motor racing.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no two
absolutely
ways
right.
about
That-
it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it's great.
Yeah.
You are just 130 years late, but so what? Better late than
But,
never.
yeah,
you
but
know.
that never.
And you did say that with Pulsar, why duplicate? So there's no point in Bajaj also going and doing motorsport
And doing
when
the
you have
same
KTM.
thing which KTM is doing. And what you said, Shirish, is actually what defines Bajaj Auto. We sell a $500 bike in Congo, and we sell a $4,000 bike in US through KTM, obviously, and now of course with Triumph, and everything in the middle. And you can imagine the play of Congo to New York, from Kinshasa to New York. There are very few examples you
Are
will see in
are
Indian
you
industry.
the new Honda from India?
Honda
Because-
is Honda.
Yeah,
and,
I understand that.
I don't think that's like trying to compare us with the moon.
But the
Yeah.
question is that the strategy or the game plan which has been unfolding, and I'm monitoring that over the last 40 years now. So you have seen that progression happen. We were a very controlled economy earlier.
Correct, correct.
We are now only constrained by our thoughts.
Absolutely right.
Nothing more than that.
Yes.
And I see that thing shedding off all the flab and whatnot and getting to
Absolutely.
absolute brass tacks.
There is a self-confidence. You see, earlier the international majors, for centuries, they've looked at the world as their playground. We used to, it is their entitlement.
Yes, yes.
We used to think of it as something, as a bonus. But now we have crossed the Rubicon.
correct.
And we think that yes, the world is our market. Why not? There is that in the young engineers, the young people, marketeers, there is that growing confidence.
It all starts with a small vision,
Yeah, absolutely.
that
right.
you want to get away from the mundane and you want to spread your wings,
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you, Rakesh. That was really insightful. Great news on the CNG and all the best for the
Rakesh,
launch
you
of
really
CNG.
fired up things, across the spectrum. Wish you very well.
You provoked by you, Adil.
And I think we are going to be really looking forward to all your motorsport plans with KTM and, of course, what you're doing with Triumph as well. So thank you, Rakesh, for being here in the Evo India podcast studio. Thank you, Adil, as always, for being here. And thank you guys for listening and watching. If you have a comment, obviously drop it in the comment section. Do share this with like-minded enthusiasts, whether you're a CNG enthusiast, a motorsport enthusiast, a Triumph enthusiast, a Bajaj enthusiast, and also a KTM enthusiast.
One more
There's
thing I
a
must
lot.
say, we will now have a new bunch of enthusiasts. We are CNG enthusiasts.
Yes.
We never had that.
Here.
So thank you, gentlemen.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
having me over. I really enjoyed the conversation as always.
Thank you.
Wonderful.